So I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today, Carrie. Y'all probably already know Carrie from her Instagram at Dr. Carrie Jackson. Carrie runs a successful group practice in California where she helps kids and teens with ADHD along with their parents. And I've had the pleasure of working with you for I think the past 7 months now.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have just accomplished so much. So I'm excited to dive in with you on that today.
Me too. And thank you for the introduction. I'm so excited to be here and talk about how great the past 7 months have been just for my business, my growth, and being a psychologist in California too.
Amazing. So you already had a pretty big following when we started working together. Maybe you could start by just giving people a little bit of a recap of like how you kind of got to this place, where your practice was at, or your Instagram was at when we started working together in January.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that my journey with Instagram was very similar to yours, where during the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm going to just start this new account for myself, knew I wanted to go into private practice. And then it did grow pretty big and grew it to around like 40 or 45,000 followers, I would say. And at that point, about 7 months ago, I was full with a wait list, charging $250 per session with the clients I see. But I knew that I needed to expand. And so really what I did is I said, okay, I need to start delegating a lot of my tasks, hiring more therapists to work with me, and really finding ways to make my business sustainable, which has been a huge piece of working with you. It's just like, okay, how can I actually make my life even more easy and still do the work I love to do?
Yep. What are some of the first things that you ended up like outsourcing when you were trying to build like a more sustainable business?
Definitely started with a VA who was helping me with some of the carousel posts that I make because I use Canva for a lot of my posts, and just using Canva is great to like reach different audience members, but at the same time, it takes so much of my time. So
Yeah.
that's something I was like, I do not want to really do. So figuring out ways to outsource the social media was a big piece. And then honestly, like even like creating the reels, like this is what I was struggling with. I was like, how can I still create reels for myself where they seem authentic, they seem like me, but it's not taking as much of my time as it was.
Awesome. Have reels been important for you with like growing your Instagram or even your practice?
Yeah, so I guess I can say that I actually have two Instagrams. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing that I should be talking about too, is I have one for myself, and then I decided to start a separate one for my group practice page. I will honestly use Reels for either one and just kind of adapt it to what makes the
Yeah.
most sense for each of those pages. And so Reels, everybody on Instagram, they're saying it is the way that you are getting the most reach with people, meeting more followers. And consistently, when I get people reaching out to me on social media through my group practice or my own page, they say they find me on social media a lot of the times. And I think Reels in particular, it's because they reach so many more people than all of the other posts do when I'm looking at my analytics.
Totally. Question for you. You have two associates in your group practice now, is that right? Cool. How has that been to like use Instagram and use Reels to fill those clinicians' caseloads? Like what has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I have actually started incorporating my associates more into my reels now, because one of the issues is like so many people, they're just like, I only want to work with you. And it's like, that's great. But at the same time, there's so many other great clinicians that work with me who would be a great fit for what you're looking for. So what I started to do is to actually have them send me just even B-roll footage, where it's like them in my office or in our office, and they're just like sitting there doing different things. And then I would actually use some of the real prompts that you gave us, and I would add those on to the videos of them so other people, they can see, oh, it's not just Carrie who works at her practice. There are other people.
Yeah. Did you get pushback from your clinicians at all on doing that or?
No, I did not. So, and actually, well, one of my clinicians, she does not have any social media at all for
Yeah.
herself
Like
personally.
even personal?
Yes.
Oh my
Even
gosh.
personal. So she was like, I am a newbie to social media. completely, but she's
Yeah.
like, I'm willing to try it. It just like will take me a little bit longer. And then the other therapist who works with me, she has her own professional social media page already. So I think for her, she was like, I can definitely, get used to it and try it out. But she actually has grown even more comfortable after she started doing it more and more.
Oh, that's amazing. Is it hard for you to manage having like both your own, I don't want to say your personal Instagram page because it's still professional, but one for you and then one for your group practice or?
It can be definitely at times. And I think that's something that I'm like getting better at is really like blocking my time and like being intentional about the things that I'm sharing on each pages. So I know that in our work together, specifically like in coaching, like you've helped me really come up with like, how can I differentiate the two pages?
Yeah.
Right. Because the last thing that I wanted to do is to just make another Instagram page that was just like, hey, here's Carrie number two.
Yeah.
Literally no point in doing that. And so wanting to really get like clear on what is the purpose of my group practice page, what should I be posting, and then you also gave me a great tip of like really trying to focus on posting for my group practice the days I'm in my office, like
Yeah.
today. And then for my professional personal page, posting other things like my coaching stuff, any other brand partnerships. And so that type of like organizational strategy, I will say, has been very helpful for my own like clarity in
Yeah.
posting.
How would you kind of explain, like, I guess the differences content wise, or like who are you targeting in your Dr. Carrie Jackson page? And then your group practice page is SoCal Psych, is that right?
Yep. SoCal
Okay.
Psych.
Yeah, love that. So how would you kind of just explain like the difference there?
So the personal professional page, I speak only to parents of kids, tweens, and teens with ADHD.
Yeah.
That is it. And in that, I am really marketing towards the parents who are looking for support for themselves with parenting strategies for ADHD. So, really, in my personal professional page, speaking to parents of kids with ADHD for support for the parents.
Yeah.
So, that's different in that my SoCal Child Psych page is really focused on support for the kids. So I'm speaking more so to how the parents can help the kids and how kids they may be struggling with like ADHD, anxiety, and how therapy can help them. So
Yeah.
big difference therapy versus coaching. Also talked on my therapy page a lot about like diagnosing, which is something is not in my personal professional page at all.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting too, because it really highlights the importance of niching down, right? Like, I think so many people would think, okay, kids and teens with ADHD is niche enough, but it's really not, right? Like, to actually say, am I going to help parents learn how to manage this on their own? Or are we going to help parents confirm, yes, your kid has ADHD, and we will help them and work with them ourselves? And so I think it's so cool that you've been able to really take like both lenses of how do we treat like the same problem, because like the pain points for them both are going to be quite different, whether a parent is looking to kind of improve their own parenting skills or have the child or teen kind of learn stuff on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I would say, a great way of explaining the difference too. It's like, is the support for the child or is it really for the parent?
Yeah.
Because, and I would say, like, it's cool how, like, even though it seems like a niche that like a lot of people could have, I consistently hear people when they reach out to me say, I cannot find anybody who specializes in working with kids and teens with ADHD
Yeah.
in San Diego. And so I think the niching down is just so important because I mean, first, I already know also that like these people who are finding me, they are in some ways like pre-screened as like they're going to want to do some of the work and therapy that I actually do, and they're going to be a good fit for me, which is huge.
Yeah. Talk to me about kind of like what it was like for you to increase your rate as you were totally full, had a wait list, and bringing on other associates.
Okay, yes. So I was definitely anxious. And so we can talk about what my rate was and what it is now, because I
Yeah.
don't think I've mentioned that. But at, I mean, it was January, I think, that we
Yeah.
started working together. My rate was 250 for a session, which I would say is pretty on par with Southern California
Yeah.
psychologists, but I had a 25-person wait list,
Yeah.
and the clients on the wait list only wanted to see me. So my goal was really, okay, I want to still be able to see clients, but I don't want to have as long of a wait list. And I want to be able to refer some people to other therapists in my practice. So
Yeah.
we looked at what do I want my income to be, and we decided to increase my rate to $375
Mm-hmm.
for new clients coming in, which that is a huge jump,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
What
Um,
does it feel like to say that out loud? I feel like I can see the emotion all over your face.
it feels definitely nervous and exciting, I will
Yeah.
say. Both. I mean, at first when you suggested it, I literally thought there's no way that anybody is going to pay this rate
Yeah.
for me. That was my first thought, and you're like, no, I think people will. You have so many people who want to work with just you. And sure enough, I mean, like within the first month, I think I had 2 to 3 people who already were at my new rate
Yeah.
only within that month. And I was not in a rush to get new clients. So we knew that like we had some time to do marketing, but I still was able to get clients at that new rate. And so now it's like, okay, I didn't see clients at this new rate and not see as many clients at least.
Yeah. What impact did that have in getting like the 25-person wait list down and kind of like helping to fill your associate's caseload?
I don't have a wait list at all right now, which is what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I did not want people waiting on wait lists also because like sometimes when you go back to them, they're like, oh, I found somebody else. So
Yeah.
that is great. I don't have a wait list now. And it's also a lot easier, I would say, to also sell people on working with one of my associates. And so because of
Mm.
that, I have been able to fill both of my therapists their caseload now. So they only have like one spot open each, which is
Yay.
great.
Yeah.
And then I've also been able to go from like 20 to 25 client hours a week to on average like 10 to 15 a week, which was my goal. And
That's huge.
same income as
Yeah.
before, which is amazing.
That's wild to cut like basically your caseload in half and to still be able to keep that income.
Yes, it is amazing, honestly, like being able to like feel more sustainable and like to spend I would say like my goal was also to be able to devote more of my time to doing other business things as well too, which now I have been able to do.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a great segue for us. So Carrie has a super successful group practice, but also I feel like you're running like 3 other businesses.
Mhm.
So we have brand partnerships on social media, which you've been killing it at lately. And then also your 2 high ticket group coaching programs. Where do you want to start? Brand partnerships or coaching?
Ooh, yes. Let's start with the brand partnerships, actually.
Cool. So give us a little bit of history of what that's been like for you just in general, but then also the past couple months.
Yeah, so I mean, I started getting some offers for brand partnerships like earlier on when I had my page, probably when I was around like 10,000 followers,
Yeah.
but it's definitely been more of a focus of what I am doing now. And over the past few months, I have gotten really selective with the brands that I am working with for
Mm-hmm.
brand partnerships. And I also am really focused on only doing partnerships that are paying for posts. So I'm not doing like gifted or affiliate partnerships anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but I get to work with some really great brands and to show to the people who follow me, like this is a great product or it's a great opportunity for my following in particular. And I get paid to post them, which is
Yeah.
amazing, honestly, because doing client work all day can burn you out. But so having other additional forms of revenue, I think has also been great for sustainability of my business.
Yeah. I don't know if you can relate to this, but to me, I feel like brand partnerships feel like such a fun, creative way to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I show up on Instagram, I'm sure you do too, because I like it, right? Like, it's why I picked Instagram instead of, I don't know, Google Ads or something. It feels fun to me. And so it's so cool. Every time I do a brand partnership, I'm like, I'm so lucky that somebody is paying me to like make this fun video, to like educate people on this product or service. And so it's so cool. It just like uses such a different part of your brain and energy than showing up for client sessions.
Yes, I 100% agree. Like I enjoy doing it. And if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
Yep.
But like I enjoy doing it. And I also like, I think I've gotten to discover actually really cool products that I like. And that even there have been a couple of brand partnerships that I've done where I was looking at them just for using them with my clients. And then it turned into a brand partnership. I'm like, this is a win-win, total win-win
Yep.
situation.
Do you have a favorite like brand partnership you've done? Either like the brand was really good to work with, or the terms were really nice, or like a content piece you were really proud of?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I have several, but one of my favorites has been a long term partnership that I've done in the past with understood.org, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They are amazing. I mean, it's seriously a perfect fit for me because, first off, I was using a lot of their content already and their tip sheets for families. And it's really a nonprofit dedicated to educating families, adults, teens, and kids about learning differences. So, I mean, what a better brand partnership. And I get to create content educating about those things in my platform too.
Yep. And even though they're a nonprofit, they still like have a marketing budget and pay you for the brand partnership.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's yeah. And I mean, there have been multiple nonprofits similarly that I have worked with and very similar, I would say.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who maybe is just getting to like that 10,000 follower mark and thinking about brand partnerships for the first time, what would you recommend as like a first step or two?
I would definitely focus on looking at what other people similar to your niches are also posting or like other types of brand partnerships that they are doing and start even making just a list of like, these are some of the brands that I'd want to work with, or these are some of the brands that I see other therapists working with. Cause I see so many cool things that therapists are posting, whether it's like about mocktails or other health related things. And so if you even just start making a list of those, then you can start to either reach out to those brands and see if they have any open collaborations, or you can just start to make that own list and then really start to like gear your content maybe more so towards some of the things that they are posting also.
Yep. I love that idea of like talking about the things that you want to start doing brand partnerships for, right? So, like, if you want to do a brand partnership with like a sober curious thing, like talking about your own journey with that, because I think it's so important that brands, when they go to your page, can envision what their content would look like on your page, right? And so, oftentimes, I see therapists like they want to stay in strict like therapy only mode until they get brand partnerships. But it's really going to take kind of branching out of that a little bit and incorporating this other stuff to be able to bring in more like fun lifestyle type of content.
Yeah, you definitely need to like adjust your content, I would say, to have a little bit more outside of the just like typical educational. This is what you need to know about ADHD type of language. Like, I even have shared like some of just like my days in the lives as a therapist, but
Yeah.
even those, I mean, I feel like they're showing personal content about like, this is what I had for breakfast, or this is what I had coffee
Yes.
wise. And those are very much so therapy related, but it's still personal too.
Yeah, totally. Without having to like spill your beans like all over the internet or something.
Exactly, without like sharing too much that you're not comfortable with. And like, I love it when I see other therapists do it. Like, I love watching your morning coffee, like protein
Yeah.
videos. And that's actually how I found, oh, I have the same protein powder that I love actually. So
Yeah.
they seem real and and they are. It's just like getting used to posting that content.
Totally. Do most of the brands that you partner with want reels, or like what kind of content are they looking for?
I would say I've only had requests for video form actually.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah. I've never actually had like a carousel request of just like a static photo. It's only been reels, videos, or like stories, which are also videos of me.
Yeah.
So that's actually very interesting now that I think about it, that's only videos, but it makes sense because you can see a bit more and then you're in the video also.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Another point for reels.
Yes, I know. Yeah. And that's so funny. I never even thought about that. But like all brands, they're asking for like, what are your rates for reels and TikToks or stories? So it's always video posts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes total sense because, like, one, we've talked about how like reels are going to be shown to more people on Instagram. So they're going to pay you for content and it's going to get seen by way more people if they do a reel. And then it's just so much easier to like show your personality and actually like sell their products authentically when you can show up, you can like talk about it with your voice, you can do a voiceover or whatever. But I think that that's like so much more impactful.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Like there's so many different ways that you can actually like adapt videos versus the like static posts. So yeah, I think it makes sense. And I would say they're more fun to post also. So
Yeah, for sure. So, talk to me about the two group coaching programs that you have,
yeah.
kind of how they came to be and where they're at right now.
Yeah. So for group coaching, I have a separate business for coaching from my therapy. And in the coaching business, what I do is I focus on parent coaching. So giving parents of ADHD kids, tweens, and teens support. And so I have a program for younger kids, and then I have a program that is currently launched still as we're
Yes.
recording this, tweens and teens. And so for the kid group, I mean, I would say before we started working together, I had probably done it for 2 years maybe. And like it's been like a growing process. Like it is not as easy, I would say, as everybody makes it look to just launch a
Yep.
program. Definitely not. That's like part of the reason why what you see on social media is not always what the reality is. But it's definitely changed a lot over the past few years. Like I used to do these launches for my younger child program where I would do like discovery calls to make sure it was a good fit for the people who are joining. Very similar to how, a lot of therapists in private practice will do those free consultation calls,
Yep.
right? But these are like 30-minute long calls.
Mm-hmm.
And right before I met you, I think I had like 30 of them scheduled for my programs and my group coaching launch,
Yeah,
right?
that's like a wild amount of calls to have.
And I can't even calculate mentally right now how much of my time that is actually.
Yeah. I mean, if they're 30 minutes, it's at least 15 hours. And I'm sure there's like a little bit of prep before and after, buffer before and after, scheduling, all of that.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That was burning me out, I would
Yeah.
say. But I needed to find a way to really ensure that my like group program was a good fit for the people who are joining, and also to be able to like give people and to like sell them on it in a way that was more sustainable, of
Yeah.
course. So we completely got rid of the discovery calls, which was great. That was my
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
And and then we moved to selling via a wait list, and like really focusing on email marketing, Instagram, social media marketing for the program, but screening people with like a application ahead of time, which worked really, really well. And also the messaging. And so I was able to fill my program and then not have discovery calls. So it
Yes.
was big win on my time, and then also still having like a great program to give to people also.
You said like, it's not as easy as it looks on Instagram to launch a group coaching program. What feels like the hardest part for you? Is it like creating the program or like delivering on it, or more so the marketing piece?
I would say the marketing piece is
Yeah.
challenging. And like one thing that you have talked about with me that I think is very like validating for like anyone who's doing marketing on social media is just that like you need to continuously show up and
Yeah.
show that everything is like going great, because yeah, realistically, like not everybody is joining your group program as soon as you make a reel or as soon as you do a
Yeah.
story. It comes in waves, or it'll come during the deadlines, and it's similar to therapy. And so definitely showing up with confidence is a thing that is challenging for me, but I still manage to do it. But I just have to give myself the push to do that.
Yeah. I think that you're so right of like, depending on how you structure your launch, we've done the wait list. So there's like a really strong incentive for people to join right in the beginning. And then they tend to be pretty slow, like in that middle area. And then that last, 24, 48 hours, a bunch of people join again. And so often I see therapists kind of like give up in that middle section or like take their foot off the gas a little bit. But it's really like what happens in that middle piece that makes the last day so successful, because those parents are like tuning in, they're watching, they're debating, they're deciding, they're talking to their partner about it. And then when they know it's like actually go time, they're already sold. They don't need to hop on like one more call with you and decide or something like that. They kind of have like all the information they need because you've been showing up in reels and stories and emails the whole time.
Yes, that middle part, I definitely am someone who wants to take my foot off the gas
Yeah.
when I'm like, hold on, is this like working? Because nobody signed up for today. But the reality is that it is working. Also, I mean, this is funny story. I don't know if you remember of my last child group launch. I
Yeah.
where I unfortunately had like a mess of things happen where I ended up on the last day of my launch breaking my ankle and I ended up having surgery.
Yeah.
But luckily, we had been doing all of this stuff in the middle, had all my posts planned. So I still got 2 or 3 sales on the last day when I was having surgery, which is just like crazy to think about.
I feel like that's the like dream of passive income, right? It's like, I'm on the beach and the sales are coming in, or I'm literally on the operating table and the sales are coming in. But it's not passive, right? It's like all the work that you put in leading up to that allowed you to make those sales on the last day when you were literally the most out of commission that you could possibly be.
Truly, yes. Yeah. And honestly, like I think like, okay, I'm so happy that I had a plan in place, had my emails scheduled, and then also I had my VA who I was able to say, hey, heads up, this is what's going on. Can you please
Yeah.
post some stuff for me? So,
Yeah.
yep.
And then how about your teen group?
Yeah, so I'm excited because, well, we decided to kind of change one of my offerings where I was initially offering a very low ticket course for $97, which is what I felt like I had to offer a course for because that's what other people offer courses for, like a very low
Yeah.
ticket. But I was telling you that for even low ticket offers, you have to market the same amount, I feel like, as a high
Yes,
ticket,
you
right?
do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't feel like it was worth it, honestly, to continue to market it. So we decided to turn it into a high ticket coaching program, really focused on the same niche, right? Parents of ADHD tweens and teens, but just changing the packaging a lot. So turning it into a mix of a group coaching program where they still had access to other self study components. And then we were able to really increase the price, which so far is already my biggest launch that I have had.
And you still have another week left?
Over a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
Mhm.
And so you're structuring it now. Like, what is the, I guess, like length of the program, the amount of calls that people get? Like, how much time is it going to take you to actually deliver this group program?
Yeah, so it is a 6 month program, but it only has actually like 6 1 hour calls in it,
Yeah.
which is great. And I love that I have like all only group calls. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really nice way to still see a lot of people, but not have as many one-on-one support like I'm doing in therapy.
Yeah.
I also added in Circle, which I know that you use for some of your programs too. I love it. And so, like with that, like parents, they're still getting access to me throughout the week where I'm going to be responding to messages and then like answering their questions again with boundaries in place. Like it's not like I'm
Yeah.
going to be responding at 1 a.m., 3 a.m. at all. But with that, it's like at least parents, they're going to get a mix of those live calls and then ongoing support for a longer period of time. But I was thinking about how like the actual amount of time I think that I will be spending on it over the next 6 months when the program has started is actually much less. And the big work was during the launch, which is kind of what I prefer.
Yeah, totally. And for folks who aren't familiar, Circle is basically like a membership platform, and it almost works similar to a Facebook group. So people can post questions and, Carrie can respond or people in the group can respond, but there's no private one-on-one messaging. And so it can feel like much more manageable, both in terms of like how responsive you need to be, how deep you're going with people, and then also just on like a boundary standpoint too, of being like, this is clearly not therapy. I'm not on call or on demand or something like that either.
Yep.
How many people do you have so far, and what's like kind of the pricing situation?
So I have 12 people who have joined so far, which is
Yes.
great because my goal is 10. So we've
Yep.
already surpassed that. And so pricing has been different because I did like a waitlist pricing, which was $7.97. And then right now I'm at early bird pricing of $9.97. And I believe that I had about 8 people join off the wait list and then 4 with the early birds. I'm getting a
Yep.
mix, which is great, like of people who are joining also just at the different prices. So yeah.
Amazing. And it's so cool to see that like we went from kind of a $97 course to adding 6 group coaching calls. So it's not even like 6 individual. And we're able to increase the price by like 8 to 10 times, right?
Yes.
Just really changes the volume of people that you need in order to make it a successful launch.
Yeah. I mean, I have even thought about like, okay, how many courses would I have had to sell to make this same amount of income? And it's
Like a lot.
probably more than I've ever sold, honestly, so
Yeah.
far. So that's a ton. And so I think this is just like way more sustainable. And I'm, yeah, looking forward to even like altering like my child group a little bit in some ways to be
Yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Amazing. How do you use Reels to kind of promote different phases of your launch or promote like the group coaching programs?
So I definitely use it in a similar way where first I'm using it to attract new followers, but then to also like sell like how my program addresses the problems they're having or the transformation that they will have. And so, with the reels, I will speak to the parents and be like, you know what, these are common challenges that parents of ADHD teens and kids will face, right?
Yeah.
So very much so speaking to that one person still. Then in the caption, I'm often saying like more about like either my free guides, a free webinar, or my program as well too. But I've noticed that the reels, they really, since they're so focused on parents of ADHD kids, they're finding my reels. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the reels are bringing people in because they're reaching a ton of people. And
Mhm.
then maybe you're using the caption more so to like convert people and actually get them interested in taking a next step, whether it's a free webinar or actually like signing up for the group itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I will include information in the actual reel about my programs, but more so using it to speak to like my one client, like my one group coaching program client. And I always hear people say, every single reel you post, I am like, oh my gosh, she gets it. She totally
Yes.
understands.
Talk to me about ManyChat and
Yeah.
how that kind of plays a role in your reels.
Okay. I love mini chat. Yeah. So, mini chat, I don't know if you've talked about this on other episodes, but
Not a deep dive at all, but
okay.
casual references here and there because ManyChat is amazing.
Yeah. So if you have ever seen someone in their Instagram caption where they say, like, comment this word, like, comment Carrie, and I will send you a copy of my free guide, or I will send you this link, they are using probably, I hope so,
Yep.
a mini chat automation. And so, mini chat, it's a program that you set up online. It's just a website, and then you basically set up the automation where you will add a word and then you'll be able to send people different things. And so I use it in a lot of my Instagram reels and captions where I will say, comment this word, and I will send you one of my free offerings or access to my sales link as well too. And
Yep.
I think that is really, really helpful because the more steps people have to go through to reach you, the more likely they are to fall off. And so even if you're saying, go to the link in my bio, that's like one more step for people to have to
Yep.
take versus you just sending them that information in the DM anyways.
Totally. And I think it's so cool because it helps more people actually get off of Instagram and into either a free part of your funnel or into like the sales page itself. But it's also boosting your reel because it's giving people a reason to comment, right? Because they want this thing that you're offering them instead of just asking like an open ended question of, can any other parents relate to this struggle or something? People probably aren't going to comment like, yeah, me too, like that often, right? But if you're saying, if you relate to the struggle, comment training, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to do X, Y, and Z, you're going to get a ton of people commenting training because now you're giving them the solution.
Yep, Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, we are talking about sensitive stuff oftentimes as therapists, like even on social media, some of the things we're talking about. So a lot of people won't necessarily want to show all the information they've experienced there. But like if you
Yes.
send it privately in their DMs, they might read a blog post that you've read or go to your sales page, or your other resources. And so I love using it. And you're right, the engagement is big. I've had a lot of there's a couple of ones where I said, comment this and I'll send you a blog. And it was
Yep.
like 500 comments or something
Oh
crazy.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you do ads at all, or everything is like organic with Reels?
So I actually, well, in one of your modules, I think is it in the PPA
Yep.
course? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when I was initially working on filling my associate's caseload, you told me that I should look into using Instagram ads for
Yep.
them. And so I watched that training and I did end up using Instagram ads. And then I actually just restarted it pretty
Yep.
recently. And I have had several clients for my associates who have found us through those Instagram ads. And it's really easy to set up. I would say very cost effective also when you look at the cost of an ad versus like using like the cost of a session too. So
Yep.
it's been very helpful in another way that people have found me also.
Totally. How about for like your group coaching programs? Are you using ads for those at all, or
No, I've
no?
never used ads, only organic social media. I mean, I'm definitely open to it in the future, but it's just not something I've gone down that road of right
Yeah.
now.
Very cool. How is doing Reels for your page different with the Reels membership versus when you were planning them on your own?
Yeah, so I love that you already have the trends of the week or the prompts so that I do not have to spend as much time searching for them. So I would say that, like, from a time perspective and like a mental energy perspective, it's so much easier using the Reels membership. All I have to do is sit down, batch out those Reels, or when I have extra time, film them, and I'm done for the week. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to do that because a lot of the times I would struggle with thinking about like, okay, what do I say? Especially when you're speaking to the same person, it's like, how many times can I say the same thing in a different way?
Yeah.
Right.
Does that feel easier having the prompt of like, I know that I'm still going to say the same message, but like, here's how I'm going to say it differently this week?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you give examples, and like even though the examples they're not always related to my specific clients, but it still gives me an idea of other types of things that I can say that are similar and that are a fit for the families that I work with. So that prompt and like the examples are so helpful.
Yeah. And I think what you do such a good job with is being like so specific in your content, right? Like it's not generic at all about like, oh, your kid is struggling or something. It is very specific to ADHD. It's specific to how parents are feeling and how parents need to be supported. And then depending on what you're launching, it's really specific also at like the stage, like the age of the kids too.
Yeah. And like being that specific, I find is super helpful because you attract the right clients, like to my therapy practice, to my group coaching program.
Yep.
But it's also not like a hindrance, I would say, at all, because even in my therapy practice, I get clients who are still a good fit for me, but that are not necessarily ADHD clients. And
Yep.
so I think that's a big worry that a lot of therapists have. Like, what if I only see this type of client if I'm too specific? But like, I have not had that experience at all, honestly.
I think what's so cool too about social media is like you show up authentically and you talk about things that are not just ADHD, right?
Mhm.
Like you're showing your newly rental, you're like taking us on your journey of your scooter after your broken ankle situation. And so like people feel like they know you, they know your vibe. And so even if they're like, yeah, I don't struggle with ADHD specifically, they're still
Mhm.
like, oh, Carrie's cool. Like I could talk to her. She gets it. We would like vibe well together. And that can also be enough for them to want to work with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just like getting to know what somebody is actually like, I think is a really big benefit of showing who you actually are on Reels. But like, even like with like some of the B rolls that I will film, I find that those are a really nice way to start showing who you are without being so scared and like
Yeah.
speaking. So that's always been helpful for me. And they're so quick to make also, which I
Yep.
love.
What advice would you give to other therapists who are wanting to scale their private practice with Instagram?
So with Instagram, I would say to not be afraid to show up is going to be the biggest thing. You're probably your own worst critic as far as what you're filming and what you're looking like when you're filming these reels. But honestly, like people love the authenticity. They love when things are not 100% perfect. And so even just showing who you are as the real you is going to attract the right types of clients for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carrie. I've loved chatting with you today. Remind everybody where they can follow along on both of your Instagram pages.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So you guys can all follow me. I am on Instagram and TikTok as Dr. Jackson. And then I also have my private practice page, which is SoCal Child Psych.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.